to change your goals, even if you don't realize it. Before my injury, my goal for my senior year was to win the hurdles at state track. But now it seems as if my goals are changing each and every day. One day, it was to lift my leg on my own. The next, get around one revolution on that exercise bike. And now, to do the hurdles at just one track meet, just to prove to everybody that I still can. One final effect of ACL injuries was noticed, and best put into words from my basketball coach. The best part about this whole process is that it reminds us that we're only human and that we're not invincible. Now that I have told you how ACL injuries are caused, the treatment and recovery process, and finally the mental side effects, I'm sure you realize this hasn't been easy, but I'm a survivor. I'm still excited about my senior year, and it certainly has been memorable. There are full of homemade cookies, card games, stories told on a soft laugh, fishing trips, and being spoiled rotten. There are so many wonderful memories I have of my grandparents, and today I would like to pay tribute to them by reading two selections on grandparents. My first selection is dedicated to Grandma. Beautiful Grandma by Mary A. Dennis. Grandmama sits in her quaint armchair. Never was a lady more sweet and fair. Her gray locks ripple like sweet silver shells, and her own brow a story tells of a gentle life and a peaceful year, a trust in God and a hope in heaven. Now little girl May sits rocking away in her own low seat like some winsome fae. Two doll babies her kisses share, and another one lies by the side of her chair. May is as fair as the morning dew, with cheeks of roses and ribbons of blue. Say, Grandmama, says the pretty elf, tell me a story about yourself. When you were little, what did you play? Were you good or naughty the whole long day? Was it hundreds and hundreds of years ago? And what makes your soft hair as white as snow? Did you have a mama to hug and kiss? And a dolly like this and this? Did you have a kitty like my little Kate? Did you go to bed when the clock struck 8? Did you have long curls and beads like mine? And a new silk apron with ribbons so fine? Grandmama smiled at little May, and laying aside her knitting, she said, go to my desk, and a red box you'll see. Carefully lift it and bring it to me. So May put her dollies away and ran saying, I'll be as careful as ever I can. The grandmama opened the box, and lo, a beautiful child with a throat like snow, lips just thin like pink shells rare, eyes of hazel and golden hair, hands all dimpled and teeth like pearls, the fairest and sweetest of all little girls. Oh, who is it? Cried Winston May. How I wish she were here today. Wouldn't I love her like everything? Wouldn't I with her frolic and sing? Say, dear Grandma, who can she be? Darling, said Grandma, I was she. May looked long at the dimpled grace, and then at the saint-like frilled face. How funny, she cried with a smile and a kiss, to have such a dear little grandma as this. Still, she added with a smile and zest, I think, dear Grandma, I like you best. So May climbed up on the silken knee, and Grandmama told her her history, what plays she played, what toys she had, how at times she was naughty, or good, or sad. But the best thing you did, said May, don't you see, was to grow a beautiful grandma for me. My second selection is dedicated to Grandpa. Grandpa's Spectacles by Elizabeth Steele. Grandpa's spectacles could not be found. He has searched all the rooms, high and low and round and round. Now he calls to the young ones, and what does he say? 10 cents for the child who will find them today. Then Henry and Nellie and Edward all ran, and a most thorough hunt for the glasses began. And dear little Nellie, in her most generous way, said, I'll look for them, Grandpa, without any pay. All through the big Bible she searches with care that lies on the table by Grandpa's chair. They feel in his pockets, they peep in his hat, they pull out the sofa, they shake out the mat. Then down on all fours like two good-natured bears go Harry and Ned under tables and chairs. Till quite out of breath, Ned is heard to declare he believes those glasses are just not anywhere. But Nellie, who was leaning on Grandpa's knee, was thinking most earnestly, where could they be? She looked suddenly up into the kind and faded eyes, and her own shining ones grew big with surprise. She clapped both her hands, all her dimples came out. She turned to the boys with a bright little shout. You may leave off your looking, both Harry and Ned, for there are glasses on Grandpa's head.
In Montana, cheerleaders are a part of the mountain mythology, and Whitey is out to find them. How I Went West and Why I Stayed by Allison Baker. I stood outside the Silver Dollar Saloon, the wind whipping around my collar. I took a deep breath and I pushed my way through the swinging doors. I could tell everyone was looking at me because dead silence dropped over the room. Their faces were sort of orange and puffy looking in the light of the video games. I'm looking for cheerleaders. All at once, everyone looked at one another, then back at me. Then the whole room erupted into laughter. People pounding on one another's backs, slapping thighs, rolling in sawdust. I smiled, glad the ice was broken. Around on me, and an excited hum swept the room. Then someone sat down beside me. Why you want to go up there anyway? I turned and looked her in the eye. If they wanted you up there, wouldn't they took you with them? I can't explain it. It's just something I gotta do. I can understand that. What's your name, stranger? Well, most folks call me Whitey. It won't be easy, Whitey. She said her name was Buffalo Gal, and that I could bunk with her. On one wall, she had a USGS map, all red squiggles marking the cheerleaders near studies. I stared at the red squiggles, but could find no pattern. They come and they go. They might as well be Bigfoots. Big feet. Whatever. One evening, as Buffalo Gal and I skied through the narrow canyon, she stopped. Listen, give me an A. There it was, faint as starlight, distant as a bear in a snow-bound cave. It was followed by a wailed response from a dozen throats. Hey! Saturdays, we made the long trek down to the Silver Dollar to be in contact with human beings and to have a drink.
Sure, I heard him. I hear him all the time,
said old Pete. But I had to ask, how can I find them?
Them cheerleaders, they're like a poem. You don't go looking for no poem. It just comes to you. If you're in the right place, doing the right thing. You could be out there for days, hunting and tracking, and you won't see hide nor hair. Then one day, maybe you're building a fire, or maybe you're smoking some weed you saved up from your last other trip. And then, there she is, standing smack dab in front of you, her arms stretched out, yelling, "Score, Pete, score."
Wow, that happened to you?
Nope.
I was beginning to understand how important the cheerleaders were to the mountain people. It's what the race car is to the Hoosier, what the tornado is to the Kansan. That is what the cheerleader is to the Montanan. Many people have found out the old ways. Old Pete was right. You can't go looking for them. You just have to wait and be ready. One evening, as I stood outside the Silver Dollar, I took a peek in and I saw old Pete and Buffalo Gal. I pushed my way in and I ordered myself a glass of milk. Then someone smoked. Stranger, what are you up to up there anyway? I knew who it was. Renee, a lean, grim-faced ranch hand. Somewhere along the line, she got her hand squeezed right off in a roping accident. Most Saturdays, she sat in the Silver Dollar, rubbing the silver hook with a chamois. She was a tough customer. Nothing. I knew I'd said the wrong thing. The silence was so thick you could have cut it with a Bowie knife. Stranger, you just said the wrong thing. You come up here from God knows where, following Buffalo Gal around like a goddamn puppy. And when I ask you in a nice, friendly, innocent manner what you're doing, you say nothing? How was I to explain this? I was doing this for all of us. All my life, all I ever wanted to do was be a cheerleader. My dream, my dad used to say, is that someday you'll be just like me. I went to every game. Oh, I burned with desire to be out there with them, flipping and turning and flinging my arms out to embrace the whole world. I struck a chord. All eyes were on me, for they were thinking back to their own youthful aspirations. But I guess it's the same old story. I didn't make the squad. I didn't even make the B squad. I would have sold my soul to be out there. I guess it's still for sale. Stranger, I misjudged you. How about a turn of the cards? In Montana, this was a good sign. Many heated discussions ended when the cards were put up. As fate would have it, it was Renee and I, face to face. one card left. And if she drew the matching card, I'd be the old maid. Renee was keeping her eyes on me the whole time. Then she stopped. Listen. H-O-W-Y. Hey, hey, we say hi. And in through the swinging doors came the first cheerleader that Silver Dollar had ever seen. She dropped to one knee, threw her hands above her head, and yelled, "Christy!" And they kept coming. "Michelle, Darlene!" They climbed on top of one another till it reached the ceiling. Then they jumped down and landed on the splits on the bar. But Renee, she kept her eyes on me the whole time. As she was reaching out for the old maid, she grabbed the matching card. I was the old maid. The cheerleaders, they all jumped down and screamed and hugged Renee. I guess it was Renee's moment of glory. I might have felt real bad if something wouldn't have happened. It warmed my heart all the way down to the vital valve. The cheerleaders, they all stood around me and they started to chant, "You're okay, you're all right, you put up a darn good fight, yay, roll Whitey!" There wasn't a dry eye in the room. It was team spirit. Team spirit, something that's hard to find in the West, in Montana, in the wide open spaces where women spend their nights alone. I think that's what we're looking for. It's not the cheering, the popularity we're looking for. It's team spirit.
All my life I've wanted to time travel. My dream is to go back to the late 1800s and be a saloon girl. I can hear the tinny sound of a piano ringing out in the room as I enter wearing a sequin dress, a bow around my neck, and a feather in my hair. I step up to the bar. "What? You say saloon girls were prostitutes? But that can't be true. That's not how they're portrayed at Silver Dollar City. And what about my heroine, Miss Kitty from Gunsmoke?" Yes, it is true. Saloon girls were prostitutes. But you must realize in the 1800s, there weren't many opportunities for women. Popular myths and legends had tended to portray women in the West holding one of three basic roles. The first, being wives and mothers whose lives were centered on the home and family. The second, being single school teachers who brought education and culture to the West, but who later married when the right man came around. And the third, being prostitutes, who made the ultimate sacrifice, their bodies and souls for money. Old West prostitutes definitely played a role in the history of our country. These madams have been portrayed in many different ways in popular television shows in the last few years, the most famous being Miss Kitty from Gunsmoke. In Gunsmoke, Miss Kitty runs a saloon, but in the real West she would have been a madam and a prostitute. In Gunsmoke, her profession other than saloon keeper was never mentioned. So what is the truth? What was life really like for these soiled doves, as they were so tactfully called? Today I will explain why prostitution was so rampant in the West, describe the life of a typical prostitute, and examine the fate of these queens. Prostitution probably developed due to a lack of females in the West. In 1849, there were 65,000 men to 2,500 women in San Francisco during the California gold rush. Occasionally, a wife would come along, but the women around these early gold mining camps were primarily prostitutes. When the railroad came to Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1880, there were 5 men to every woman. This naturally led to brothels, which housed scarlet women, and to cribs, which were a series of single rooms, each with one soiled dove, facing the street in a one-story building. Throughout the West, cowtowns sprung up, luring people with get-rich-quick schemes. Prostitutes came with the same get-rich schemes in mind, and business was good. After weeks or even months on a long cattle drive, cowboys were anxious for a good time and had money to spend on prostitution and gambling. The first place seamen entering most cowtowns was either a dance hall or saloon, and in most cases they were even the first places of business established in the towns, and they did a brisk open business. There was generally an area in town set aside for prostitution. This area was known as the Red Light District. In Abilene, Kansas, the area was known as the Beer Garden or McCoy's Edition. In Ellsworth, Kansas, the area was known as Notchville or Scragtown. And in Newton, Kansas, the area was known as Hyde Park. So, who were these women the press called the Nymphs to Prairie, and what was their life like? Prostitutes of the West were generally very young, the average age being 19.